Rise and Shine YouTube. Today, we're going to take a look at the mouse that pretty much snuck itself into the market, which is this guy right here, the HyperX Haste 2 Mini. We're going to look at the shape, right? We're going to look at the good, we're going to look at the bad, and then we're going to look at whether or not if I recommend the mouse or not. So without further ado, let's do what it do. The Haste 2 Mini. This guy came out of nowhere from HyperX, and it is the smaller version of the Haste 2 normal size. For me, the normal size was too long, and I just didn't feel comfortable using that mouse. Now, they took that overall shape, shrunk it down, and this mouse complements my hand size like just tea on a Sunday morning while eating potatoes. The 116 millimeter long length, right? I have 16 by 9 hands. They just go together. It feels very good in hand. Now, the shape profile or the grip style I would prefer, or I would recommend, is fingertip because one, the hump profile is in the middle, and it isn't tall enough in my opinion for claw. Because when you try to put your palm in here, you're not really having any hump here to get that nice contact that you look for. When it comes to fingertip, though, nothing gets in the way. You can bring it back into your hand, and you're good to go. The sides are nice and flat, right? They feel really, really good, right? They remind me kind of like the X2 V2 Mini sides, as they're flat as well. These are just more narrow. The structure on the sides is like a tank. I have no flex. I have nothing wrong with it. The hump, I don't have any issues with it being too tall, too short, or too wide in the back. And just the overall shape profile, you can even see underneath. It kind of comes in, and then the body of it, it's awesome, right? The shape is just great for smaller hands. Now, when it comes to the coating, right, a lot of people are going to notice the coating right off the bat because it is much different than most mice on the market. So I'm getting a little closer so you guys can kind of see the kind of like the micro texture in the coating. You can feel it in hand and it feels different. It doesn't feel bad out of the box at all, right? It isn't a terrible coating. It is on the entirety of the mouse. You can see it more on the clicks, on the more body-ish of the mouse itself, and on the other side, right? Try to get this to see it in the light more. See it glistening. That is more of the texture. Comfort grooves have a nice deep pocket, so that's why I say fingertip, because you get a nice lock-in feel when you kind of place those fingers in there and you just go to town. Wait, what? All right, clicks is going to be kind of like the main issue, right? Not the side buttons. Side buttons are nice, they're crispy. I have no issues with post-travel, pre-travel, right? No issues there. Scroll wheel, no issue with it. No weirdness going on. It's centered, unlike most of the Final Mouse mice. And the right M2 is pretty solid, no wobble. But my issue is M1. And when it comes down to it, I don't have any issues if I place my finger near the back end of the click. But as you can see, as I get a little further up, you get a lot more wobble, a lot more movement, and you start getting that grind feel. Especially right here where I'm moving my finger. Kind of show you exactly where. This does not feel good at all. Underneath the plastic, you really feel the grind of the click. You really just feel just the crappiness of it. Now, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I don't really open my mice. Don't mod. I don't do anything like that. I just want to buy a mouse and have it work out of the box. That's how most consumers want, right? When it comes to the like clicks itself, they don't feel bad at all. They don't feel mushy. They feel nice and crispy. It's just the plastic. It's the wobble. It's the click grind. It's just that alone throws the entire mouse kind of out the window when I'm tracking, right? When I'm tracking and I get a little more intense, I tend to put a little more pressure down on my fingers, and that's where you really find the grind and the wobble. When you start getting into the larger hands, so I'm going to reference Fresh Reviews' review, right? His hands are much longer to where his fingers kind of overlap the mouse, and he kind of needs to put his fingers near the top end. He had a lot of inconsistencies with his click, and same thing with my buddy Ancient Alien. he had the same issues with the click grinding and everything like that. That is because of their finger placement too. Their hands being much longer, they have that issue and feeling that entire just garbage click right out of the box. So I know Fresh didn't like the Haste 2. I know Ancient didn't like the Haste 2. I, on the other hand, love the Haste 2 except for this one area, right? Am I going to main this? Absolutely not, because of that QC issue, right? I think that just is a game changer from this being an incredible shape to the click just not being up to par. It's just, it's annoying. It's frustrating because of how good the shape is. Another thing I didn't like, the stock skates that came with this. I feel like they are too thick, and just how they're angled and their thickness makes the mouse wobble on hard pads, right? It doesn't make the mouse lay or stand flat. When you're moving, you do feel that wobble side to side, and that can be an issue when you're moving, you're tilting. You can have little sensor issues here and there. So that's another issue with the mouse, is the stock skates. The last thing about this mouse is the weight. Now, 59, 60 grams isn't really that heavy until you get into these smaller shape mice. Take the Razer Cobra Pro, for example, that being around 80, sometimes when you have all the wireless puck and everything in there, 90 grams almost. That thing was terrible because of the weight and how compact it was inside that mouse. Wasn't good at all. This is not as nearly bad as that was, but it's still noticeable where people won't want to use this mouse because of the weight alone. 60 grams in such a small, compact shape. It doesn't have room to be distributed as much as something like the OP1, where this is 50 grams, and this feels almost like 20 grams lighter than this. You add in the Asus Keras Aimpoint, which I'll be reviewing here in a little bit too, with the Moonstone glass pad. This is around 75 grams, right? And moving this on the mouse pad, right? It feels nice, right? But at the same time, moving the HyperX, it almost feels like these two are in the same weight bracket. That's how like mind-boggling weight into a smaller shape kind of gets when you go into like the deepness of it. This obviously feels slightly heavier because it is, but the weight is distributed in a better sense because of the shape being larger, where you get too much of a denseness going on with the Haste 2 Mini. So that's three things that I didn't like, and that ultimately kind of puts this mouse to the side or back in the box, where I'm not actually going to use it, right? I had no issues with performance, right? Performance was fine. No issues with just the mouse lagging or stuttering. Nothing like that, right? After I changed, like, putting different skates on made the mouse sit flatter as well, made the mouse more enjoyable, but the overall end game of this mouse needs to be, one, lighter, two, the whole entire, I think the click structure needs to be changed inside, and then this mouse will be something worth picking up. If you are somebody, though, that is traveling, right, you want a Bluetooth mouse, right, this has Bluetooth. This is something that a small-handed person can use for like work or anything like that. It is that comfortable, right? So that alone can just be a different kind of like buying option for this mouse, and people who like modding mice. If you like modding mice, I think this is a good pickup because you can get this mouse down to about 49, 50 grams, and you can kind of reinforce the click structure. Everything like that, I think modders will really enjoy this mouse. Competitive gamers, because of that click issue, the weight, I don't think they're going to cater to this mouse a lot, right? A lot of them are going to probably return the mouse and not use it, just because it doesn't actually meet the needs of like the top tier competitive performance enjoyers, right? The casual gamers, if you don't play shooters, right? If you have small hands, go for it, right? It's nice, comfortable. It's an easy pickup for you guys. You're not really tracking or doing much, right? If you're playing like an MMO, or if you're playing like Pale World or anything like that, like you'll have no issues with the mouse whatsoever. So, in the end, would I main this mouse? Absolutely not, because of its issues that it has now. If it were to be revisited by HyperX and they fix everything, then maybe in the future. But right now, this is just going to go off to the side and not be used probably ever again. So hopefully it gets checked. Hopefully it gets looked at. But HyperX, the shape is amazing. Just we need the execution to be much, much better down the road. That's it, boys and girls. So got the HyperX Haste 2 Mini review there. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, go for it. The Aces Keras Aimpoint video will be live soon. Same thing with the Moonstone Ace. They're going to be in one video itself. All in all, love you guys. Rise up. God bless. We'll see you for the next one.